Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, How to Really Sell Vehicles from the Service Lane. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DEALERUN. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DEALERUN, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our search engine optimization, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. DEALERUN was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2011, 2012, and 2013, and DEALERUN customers have been winners of the Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards, highly coveted overall winner, and unprecedented 5 times in a row. We're the only website company that can claim that. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at DEALERUN.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Jim Kristoff as our presenter today. Jim Kristoff is the Florida Regional Sales Manager for Auto Alert, a data mining solution for dealerships that's currently in 2,500 stores in the U.S. and Canada. A 30-year veteran in the retail automotive industry, Jim has managed and led some of the largest volume dealerships in the country. With 20 years of general manager experience plus 8 years as a partner in his own Honda store, Jim brings a real retail perspective on how to take your dealership to the next level. You can follow Jim on his own website at jimkristoff.com, where he has over 40 videos and 70 articles that can help any dealership reach that higher level. Or you can email him directly at jim.kristoff@autoalert.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we'll respond by email to you later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Auto Alert are giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. What is it? Well, they're going to be awarding one of you lucky webinar attendees with a $250 Visa gift card. All for you. But you have to be on the live broadcast, though. All you have to do is stay tuned for the details after Jim's presentation, and you could be scoring this awesome prize today. And at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So please fill it out, because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Let's learn how to really sell vehicles from the service lane. Jim Kristoff, how the heck are you, my friend?
Very good, Eliana. How are you?
I am over the moon, ecstatic, excited, and happy. Audience, I just want you to know, Jim Kristoff's name came to me from a very dear friend in the auto industry. And she told me that this guy knows what he's talking about, and he has a topic that so many people really want to know about. So what did I do? I immediately wrote to him and I said, I need you on my show. Jim, gracious as he is, he's here with us today. And Jim, I want you to know, and I want the audience to know, this is officially the largest webinar I have ever done. We have more people registered for this webinar than ever before on any webinar I've ever done. So Jim, I want to say congratulations. And audience, I want to tell you, you are in for a spectacular show. So Jim, a lot of people want to know, first of all, can you really sell from the service lane? And how do you do it? So tell us, what are the kinds of things we're going to be learning about today? And by the way, thank you so much for doing this webinar for us.
Well, it's my pleasure, Eliana. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for attending this webinar. The response was overwhelming, and I really appreciate that. And today we're going to talk about how to really sell cars from the service lane. And I can tell you, it's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest opportunities in any automobile dealership right now. Lord knows there's not enough people coming in the front door to sell enough cars to. And we have so much opportunity that goes on in the back door, in the service drive, in the service lane. I can tell you, when I first started selling Chevrolets back in the early 80s, I had a sales manager that shoved me right out into the service drive and said, kid, go sell some cars out in the service drive. Well, I had no idea what I was doing out there. You know, it's who do you approach? What do you say? What goes on? Today I'm going to try to cover all that with you, and we're going to cover some objectives here today. What we're going to do, we're going to cover the why. And the why is, why should you go out to the service drive and actually sell vehicles? And what are the metrics? How many opportunities are there out there? How many of them should we be closing? How many people are really, you know, in a position where you can sell them another car? We're going to go through some serious metrics, some metrics that go on in the dealership every day. You know, the amount of opportunities that come in the front door versus a closing percentage. That's a metric that goes on every day in every car dealership. So we're going to cover some of those metrics. We're also going to cover how. It's going to be a very simple approach. We're going to cover how to really do this, what your approach should be, what your word track should be, what your follow-up should be, all that kinds of stuff. We're also going to cover who. Now, I've done this successfully in many dealerships, so this is not a foreign entity to me. I see what works. I see what doesn't work. Now, I've done it several different ways. We've put salespeople out there in the service lane. We've also put concierges out there in the service lane, concierges that are just greeting the customers and finding out if we can do something with them. Then we're going to cover the when, and I can tell you when is full-time. We're going to staff a real sales team in the service drive to really, really, really maximize what we're doing out there. Then we're going to cover some marketing, some point-of-sale material, things that you're going to need on a daily basis to really market to these people, to make them understand exactly what you're doing. And we're going to be planting the seed from the beginning and continuing throughout the whole customer ownership of this car, because if we just approach them once, that's not going to cut it. We're going to have to tell them throughout their ownership that what we want to do and how we're going to do it. And I'm going to encourage each and every one of you, if you have a question, please type it in. Eliana's going to grab up all these questions for me. You know, we're going to stop here and there. We're going to answer some questions. So please ask as many questions as you can. I'm going to stay on after if need be. I'll stay on for another half an hour after the webinar to answer questions and try to get as many of those answers as I possibly can. So let's start with the why. Let's start with the metrics. You know, what really goes on out in the service drive out there? And when I say, why should we sell vehicles in the service lane? You know, how many customers are there that we can get into a new vehicle, and how many of them should we be selling? Because if we don't manage and measure what we're doing, it's a failure. So we've got to measure it, we've got to manage it, we've got to hold people accountable, and I can tell you these are tried and true processes right here. First of all, what we're going to talk about, every dealership that I go into, we do a lot of data mining. I work for a company called Auto Alert, and we do a lot of data mining. In this data mining right here, what we find is anywhere between 10 and 20% of a dealership's total database we can sell another car to for about the same payment they're paying now with no money down and at full MSRP. Now these are customers you can do business with right now. So think about it. In your entire database of customers, whatever you have for a database out there, whether you have 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 customers in your database, anywhere between 10 and 20% of them you can put in another car. You can put them in a brand new car, keep their payment about the same with no money down. So let's face it, most customers today, how much money do they normally want to put down? They want to put zero down. So that's what we're going to be talking about right there. We're going to do it with zero money down. And they're already making a payment on the car. Wouldn't they make that same payment and upgrade themselves into another new car? Here's the trick. You need a data mining solution to figure out who in your database you can actually do this with. So for every 1,000 customers that you have in your database, there's somewhere between 100 and 200 vehicle sales that can happen. And the trick is really to identify them and figure out who you can engage in their offer. So let's go through a little history first. You know, back when I first started selling cars back in the early 80s, I can tell you selling Chevrolets back then, they had maximum financing of 36 months. They didn't have the 48-month financing, the 60-month financing, the 72, the 84-month financing. Lord knows we're going to put them in 10-year financing pretty soon. But the maximum term was 36 months. So they had a shorter term, they built up equity a whole lot quicker, and of course, the cars were less expensive. So taking somebody out, I know you've heard maybe from some people, Lord, I'm 53 years old, some people that are a little older than me and maybe even a little younger than me can remember their moms and dads trading out of their car every single year. They'd get a new car every year. And you always say to yourself, well, how the heck did they do that? You can't do that these days. So here's how they did it. It was short-term financing. So it was short-term financing. They built equity quicker. And of course, the cars were less expensive. And now that we put them in 72 and 84-month financing, when is the break-even point? When do they start having equity? Because if we sold two identical 2011 Honda Accords, brand new in 2011, customer A had $3,000 worth of negative equity in their car, and they put no money down. It will take the customer A a little longer to get in an equity position than customer B, who maybe had some positive equity in his vehicle and put cash down. So you don't know when they're coming out, especially when we put them in 72-month financing, 84-month financing. We've got to figure out when they're going to get out of those things, or when they can have some equity in those vehicles, all right? So can you sell all these customers all at once? No. I'm going to tell you the biggest objection you're going to have in the service drive, or anywhere else for that matter in a car dealership, is customers are very skeptical of what we have to say. Let's face it, we're in the car business. It's people are skeptical of what we say. They might not trust us all the way. So the biggest objection you're going to have for this whole thing is they simply just don't believe you. So you have to have a way of approaching them that is believable. So we're going to cover that today. We have to be consistent and persistent with that message. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start talking about how many vehicles we should be able to sell in the service drive. First of all, let's cover some numbers. These are the metrics of what comes in your front door every month. I'm just going to use an example. Let's say 500 people came in the front door of your dealership last month, and your closing percentage is 25% of those 500 people. So you ended up selling 125 cars out of that. So you got 500 opportunities to do business, closing them at 25%, and you end up with 125 cars. Three things go on with those customers that walk into your showroom. First of all, do some of them have a lot of negative equity? They're $5, $6, $7, $8, sometimes $10,000 upside down. You can't get them in another car? Sure, that happens every day in a showroom. So we have people that have negative equity, but we still manage to close 25% of the total of 500 people that came in the door. The second thing, are some of those people that walk in your front door, some of those 500 people that are walking in your front door that were closing at 25%, do some of them have a low beacon score, very low credit score? You can't get them approved anywhere. Of course that happens every day. But we still manage to close 25% of everybody that's coming in the front door. And the third thing, not everybody drove up to the front door driving your product. They're not driving the product you're selling. They're driving all the competition's product. They're driving, if you're a Honda store, they're driving Toyotas, Nissans, so on, so on, so on. So now, here's what's going on. You got too much negative equity, very low credit score, and not everybody drove up in your product. So if you identify via a data mining solution, you're going to identify the 10 to 20% of your database that you can sell a car to. That's what a data mining solution is going to be able to do for you. It's going to identify those people that are in an equity position. Or if they're not in an equity position, we're going to match a payment. The payment, let's face it, most customers are payment buyers. So we're going to try to match a payment. If the lease deal was just okay when they bought the vehicle, and now the lease deal is super deluxe, we might be able to match payment. The customer might be $3,000 negative equity, but we're still going to beat at that same payment. Or if they left on a finance deal at 5% interest, now there's a subvented rate for 0.9% interest. We might be able to get them at that same payment. So equity does come into play, but not all the time. Here's what I do know about the 10 to 20% of the customers that a data mining solution is going to be able to do. Here's what I know about them. every single one of them, every single one of those 10 to 20%, we can put in another car for about the same payment with no money down, because they're not $8,000 or $9,000 upside down. We've already identified them through the data mining solution that they're in a position that we can do something with, okay? Every single one of those customers in that 10 to 20% that the data mining solution is already identified, all of those people are in a current loan or a lease right now. So negative, or the bad credit scores that are going on out there, all these people already have a current loan. We're probably going to get them another loan or a lease. I mean, we're going to lose maybe 1 to 2% because, let's face it, 1.5% of the entire country goes bankrupt at any given time. So we'll refinance 98.5% of them. And of the 10 to 20% of your customers in your database that we can do something with, every single one of them is driving your product. They're already sold on your product. They already know they're happy. They like it. They're going for it, right? So here's the correlation. You got ups walking in the front door. You got 500 ups that walk in the front door. We close them at 25%. The ups that walk in the front door could be $5,000, $6,000 upside down, have tremendous negative equity, could have a 390 beacon or a very low beacon score, and they're driving a competition's product. Out of the 10 to 20% that we've identified in the database through a data mining solution, all of those people are not in a negative equity position. Every single one of them is in a current loan. We're probably going to get them another one. And here's the best part. They're already doing business with you. They're already driving your car. They're already driving your product. So Lord knows we should be able to close a bunch of those things, right? So let's say for possibilities that you have in your service lane. Let's say in this example you had 10,000 customers in your database. Now 10 to 20% of them is 1,000 to 2,000 possible deals. Let's take the low end of that. Let's just take 10%. Let's just use the 10%. Now that's 1,000 deals that you could possibly make out of your database. Now let's close 25% of those opportunities. Now I would have to tell you, those opportunities there, we should close them at a higher percentage than 25%, because these are people that are in a position to get another car, that have a previous loan, that are driving your car. They're not the other ones that are walking in your front door that are upside down with a 390 beacon and they're not driving your car. These are much better opportunities. So if you close 25% of these opportunities, that would be 250 deals in your service lane that you could close over the next 12 months. Because not everybody's going to say yes when we walk up to them and make this offer to them. So that would equate to a little over 20 vehicles each month. Now, again, 25% for me, that's the low end, because you got negative equity ups versus the positive equity people. You've got good credit versus bad credit. You've got all those things that are going on. Why would you want to wait at the front door for an opportunity that comes in there when you've got much better opportunities in your service lane that are already doing business with you? Now, these are the metrics you need to be able to hold your team accountable to when you're using a data mining solution. So if you got 10,000 people in your database, 10% of them you can do something with. That's 1,000 people. We're closing at the front door at 25%. Let's close these people at 25%. That's an additional, let me repeat that again, additional 250 deals you're going to make this year with a little over 20 a month. That's got to wake you up a little bit. That's got to get you excited. That's got to get you going. So we're going to cover the how to do that in just a second. But right now, Eliana, we have a poll question.
Yes, we do. Audience, it's your first poll question of the day. I hope you're ready. Here we go. If you look on your screen, we want your answer to this question. Do you currently have a process in place to sell vehicles in your service drive at your dealership? So please just select one of the following answers. Yes, we do, and it's working great, but I'm always looking to improve. Yes, we do, but we're not getting great results. Well, we tried it before, unsuccessfully. No, we don't have a process in place to sell vehicles in our service drive, but we want to. Or no, but I'm ready to be convinced otherwise. So which is it for you? Is it, yes, we do, it's working great? Yes, we do, but we're not getting great results? We tried it before, not such great results. No, but we're looking to do it. Or no, I don't think I would, but you can try and convince me. Now, some of you are writing in. I'm going to assume that you guys are on an iPad, because for some reason the iPad won't let you actually push on the radio buttons. But for the rest of you, you should be able to push on those radio buttons and get your vote in. Now, once we get a majority of the votes in, we'll close this poll and share the results. And just so you know, Becky wrote in, she says, we have a process in place, but we need to hone our skills because we are babies in this process. So, Becky, thank you so much for being here today and sharing that with us. We do appreciate it. And I dare say, I don't think you're going to be babies after this webinar. So, right, Jim?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so we do have a lot of people who voted. It is a majority, so I guess I'll close the poll. But it's not as many as we usually get. So, audience, we really appreciate when you get involved with our poll questions. Stevie wrote in, we will be ready soon with your help, of course, Jim. I like it, I like it, I like it. Okay, so how about this? Let's close this poll and share the results from today's audience. Well, Jim, let's go down the line. Today's audience, 17% of today's audience said, yes, we do. It's working great. We're always looking to improve. 31% of today's audience said, yes, we do, but we're not getting great results yet. 11% of today's audience said we tried it before. It wasn't that great. It was unsuccessful. Now the majority, 32%, said no, but we want to. And 8% said, no, not yet, but I'm ready to be convinced that I should. So Jim, where do we go from here?
Well, let's go through how to really approach these customers, what to say, how to say it, what your mindset should really be. So let's cover some of that right there.
That's perfect, because Sherry wrote in and she says, I'm taking over the service sales process here, and I'm looking for processes and proper protocol to follow to make it more successful. I'm sure Sherry's not alone.
Absolutely not. I mean, it's probably the biggest opportunity in every store out there. I mean, it's absolutely the biggest opportunity to engage these customers in the service drive. And this is how we're going to do it. First of all, data mining has already identified these correct customers. So as they're coming into the service drive, I can tell you this, you know, and the way we do it, the way I instruct it, the way I train it, the way I teach it is this. We're going to have a full-time team out there. We're going to have people out there touching every single vehicle that comes into the service drive, because you never know what you have right there. Because if you're counting on just trying to tackle the appointments that come in, guess what? Not everybody makes a service appointment. A lot of people are walking in the door. So this data mining solution that we have, we're going to identify these customers. We're going to tell you which ones to approach, which ones not to approach. We're going to tell you all that. So after we've figured out which customers to approach, let's assume in this example a customer comes into the service lane. They're driving a 2011 Honda Accord. We walk over to the car, we identify it. First of all, what we want to do in the service drive, we want to let that customer go ahead and interact with the service advisor and complete that transaction. We don't want to interrupt any part of that transaction whatsoever. We want to let them go ahead and do that service transaction, interact with the service advisor, and in the meantime, what we're doing is we're going to every car that's in the service lane and trying to figure out which ones are the somewhere between 10 and 20% of the database, which ones of those people's we can actually approach and give an offer to. So again, let's assume somebody drives in a 2011 Honda Accord LX. You know, I'm going to walk over to the customer after they're all done, and here is the whole word track. It's very simple. It says, hello, my name's Jim Kristoff. I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions here at the dealership. I see you're currently driving a 2011 Honda Accord. Let me ask you a question. Do you think we could have the opportunity to buy that car back from you? I can tell you this, if we don't tell somebody in the first 5 seconds why we're talking to them, we're going to lose them. Unfortunately, in this world, everyone seems to have the attention span of a 3-year-old. So if they've got the attention span of a 3-year-old, we need to tell them why we're approaching them. You know, and if we could buy your car back from you, what if we were able to give you a brand new 2014 Honda Accord, keep your payment about the same, and the best part, requires no money down from you? Do you think we can have the opportunity to buy the vehicle back from you? That's the entire word track right there. What we want to do is we want to buy their car back from them. But I can tell you this, like I covered earlier, the biggest objection you're going to have is customers simply don't believe a word we're saying. So what we have to do is tell a story. We've got to tell the story. You know, when an opportunity to do business, a customer comes in the front door, what do we do with those customers? We sit them down, we ask them some questions, we build a little rapport with them. We find out what their wants and needs are. So that way when we're demonstrating a vehicle to them, we're making sure this vehicle is going to fulfill all of their wants and needs. Well, guess what? The dealership has wants and needs too. You know, I can tell you, customers have a difficult time trusting what we're saying to them, so we've got to actually turn it around from them a little bit. When I say turn it around, here's what I do. I take these 3 words out of my vocabulary: sell, trade, and sale. I take those 3 words out of my vocabulary because, let's face it, if you walk up to somebody and try to sell them something and they're not in the market to be sold anything, the answer is probably going to be no. They don't want to trade it in either, because that's like a key word of a sale right there. And it's not a sale, because once they turn into an opportunity, once they turn into one of the somewhere between 10 and 20% of the database that you can do something with, well, they're always going to be there. So what I don't want to do, I don't want to sell this customer a car. I want to purchase theirs from them. It's a whole different dynamic when you approach somebody and you either A, try to sell them, which is not going to work, or B, you approach them and with this mindset you're basically telling them, you have exactly what I'm looking for. I'd love to have the opportunity to purchase it from you. So, and you don't want them to trade it in either. You want to purchase theirs, because as soon as you use the word trade, the little antenna go up on the customer and they say, uh-oh, somebody's trying to sell me something, right? And it's not a sale. Purchasing customers' vehicles from them is the best way to replenish your dealership's pre-owned inventory. Matter of fact, there's no better that you can obtain for the dealership than one that was originally purchased there and serviced there. So this offer will never expire. I can tell you when, you know, customers are listening to you and we approach them, the customer's perception is we're always going to be pushy. We're always going to be selling something. We're always going to be chasing them. Here's what we don't want to do. Any of that in the service lane. Because I can tell you this offer won't expire. When I tell a customer, listen, if they simply tell me no, if I make them that offer, geez, we'd really love to buy your car back from you, and they tell me no, I start right in, here's my next answer. Not a problem. Always remember, I'd love to buy your car from you. I'll buy it today. I'll also buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week. I'll buy it next month. Heck, I'll buy it next year. I'm going to tell you, this is the way we replenish our used car inventory. I can tell you, I tell 2 stories, 2 word tracks when we're training all this. And here are the 2 word tracks that I train most prevalently. First of all, I train this word track right here. And these are all straightforward, honest, black and white word tracks. There's no gray area to them. Here's the first word track. When somebody tells me no, or I'm just telling the story of why I want to purchase their car, here's what I tell them. Here's word track number 1. This is the way we replenish our used car inventory. We don't want to go to the auction and buy cars. Quite frankly, we have a hard time buying these cars at auction. And that's the truth right there. Ask your used car manager how difficult it is to buy cars at the auction, because Lord knows I've bought thousands and thousands and thousands of cars over the years at the auction. I can tell you, if you're the last person with your hand up in the air when you buy a car and you just bought it, I don't care how many you bought, immediately you say to yourself, uh-oh, I just bought this car. I hope I didn't screw up. So I can tell you that doing that, buying cars at the auction is hard. So the first word track, this is the way we replenish our used car inventory. We don't want to go to the auction and buy cars. Quite frankly, we can't even find these cars at the auction. Second word track is this. There is no better car we can have in our used car inventory than one that was originally purchased here and serviced here. And that's the truth, right? I mean, if the car was serviced there, you have all the service records for the next person that really wants to buy the car. So let's go back to the beginning. A customer comes in, has got a 2011 Honda Accord. I'm going to walk up to him and say, listen, my name is Jim Kristoff. I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions here at the store. I see you're driving a 2011 Accord. Do you think we could buy that car back from you? More often than not, the customer looks at you and goes, what are you talking about? What do you mean you want to buy my car back? That's when I immediately go into the stories. I say, listen, this is the way we replenish our used car inventory. You know, we have a hard time finding these cars at auction. We can't even find them there. And quite frankly, there's no better car we can have in our used car inventory than one that was originally purchased here and serviced here. That's how badly we'd like to buy your car. Here's the best part. We want to buy it so badly. What if I told you we could give you a brand new 2014 Honda Accord, keep your payments about the same as they are now? Here's the best part. I don't need any money from you. I don't want a dime from you. I just want the ability to purchase your car, and I'm going to give you this 2014 as compensation or a replacement vehicle just for letting us buy this 2011 from you. See, at no point in that conversation right there am I selling anything. I'm simply trying to buy their car. And I can tell you that's the mindset you really need to have when you're in the service drive. You've got to have the mindset you want to buy their car. You don't want to sell them a car, because as soon as we start talking about selling cars, it turns them off because they don't believe anything we say anyways. They're very skeptical of what we say. But if we have a message of, hey, this is what we'd like to do. We'd like to buy your car from you. As a matter of fact, we want to buy it so badly from you. What if we could give you another car for about the same payment with no money down? Customers hear bad stories all the time about vehicles being damaged in storms, and then they go through the auction, and who wants to buy any of those cars? And we certainly don't want any of them on our used car lot. So that's the story you need to tell. You need to be diligent with it too, because if you try to sell something, you're going to fail, because we're trying to sell something to somebody that's not ready to be sold. They're not ready for this offer. But if we simply tell them, hey, listen, we'd love to buy your car. You have exactly what we're looking for. It's the exact equipment, it's the exact color, it's the exact mileage. That's exactly what we're looking for. Hey, do you think we could buy it from you? Because this is the way we replenish our used car inventory. Matter of fact, we can't even find these cars at the auction, and there's no better car we can have in our used car inventory than one that was originally purchased here and serviced here. That's what I want to do. So that's the mindset. Those are the word tracks that you need to go through. And I can tell you, it's a hill to climb for some people. It was for me. I can tell you, I've spent my whole career selling cars, and I can tell you, I have used Auto Alert on the retail side, running my own store. So I can tell you, initially I went out there, with an iPad, out in the service drive, and I can tell you, I failed. The first 30, 60 days, I flat out just failed, because I was trying to sell them a car. As soon as I got the epiphany, as soon as I understand, as soon as I realized that I wasn't, the best way to do this is to simply buy their car instead of selling them a car, that's when the whole thing took off. Now, if they tell us no, that's not a problem either. Again, if they tell us no, they're not interested in selling us their car, that's not a problem. What we're going to do, we're going to double down. When I say double down, that means when a customer comes into the service drive, usually you got the husband or the wife bringing it into the service drive, or the daughter, the son, the mother, whoever's bringing it in. If we go talk to them and they tell us no, here's what I want to do. I want to double down, which means I'm going to send them an email of the very same offer. Because maybe the husband came in with the 2011 Accord, and I told the husband, listen, we'd love to buy your car. And he says, no, I'm not interested right now. Okay, no problem. I want to buy it today. I want to buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week, next month, next year. No problem. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you an email. You're going to get all my contact information, and If you ever decide you want to sell your car, please reach out to me. Please let us have the first opportunity to buy this car from you. So that way, when the husband goes home and starts talking to the wife, he says, you know, honey, they approached me at the dealership today. They want to buy our car back from us. And she'll say, what do you mean? Now, if you expect the husband to relay to the wife exactly what you said, you're fooling yourself. You're kidding yourself. They're not going to be able to do it. That's why we want to double down. That's why we want to send them an email of the very same offer. That way it's in black and white. It's right in front of them. They know how to do it. They know what they're talking about with their spouse. And guess what? From that point forward, we're going to keep following up with them every 30 to 45 days because we've already made them the initial offer. I can tell you this, you know, I tell the story often, you know, the guy comes into the dealership and sits down. This is in my own store. This is a true story. I'm sitting at my desk one morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Customer comes in and looks at me, you know, knocks on my door, and I said, yes, sir, how can I help you? He says, the first words out of his mouth, he says, when does this madness end? I said, sir, it sounds like you're upset. Please come in and sit down. Let's discuss this. I can solve any problem that you have. He tells me for 9 consecutive months, we've left him a voicemail telling him we want to buy his car. So I start smiling a little bit. I know my PDC is doing a good job. He then tells me, he says, and for 9 consecutive months you've sent me an email that basically says the same thing. And I said to him simply, then can we buy your car from you? Here was his answer. He goes, you really can't do that, but we can. Those are the ones that are in that 10 to 20% of your total database. Those are the ones we can. Well, the end of the story was, I told him the story, told him this is the way we replenish our used car inventory, put him on another Accord. Guess what happened? Put him in traffic about an hour and a half later. All this from a gentleman who didn't believe anything we had to tell him for 9 consecutive months. So I can tell you, persistence breaks down resistance, and you have to be persistent in doing all of that right there. Because I can tell you, if you look at J.D. Powers or NADA, they'll give you a statistic that says customers that are in a 60, 72-month, 84-month financing, what they want to do, they want to get out of it in 24 months. Let's face it, everybody wants to upgrade. Why do you upgrade your own cell phones? Look at your cell phone right now. I can see everybody looking at their cell phone. How long have you had that cell phone? Why did you get it? You wanted to upgrade. You wanted something different. You wanted the latest and greatest. Guess what? People that buy cars, the vast majority of them want to do the same thing, but unfortunately, they're in 72 or 84-month financing, and they can't get out. Thus, that's why the average trade cycle is about 41 months. That's when they start having equity. Wouldn't it be nice to have a data mining tool to be able to go back and figure out which ones you can do business with, which ones you can approach, and which ones you can sell cars to? So that's really the how right there. So it's a very simple approach. I've got this all outlined. Those of you that are on Auto Alert, I've got a whole 28-page PDF. You can ask your regional sales manager. He'll forward it to you. He or she will forward it to you. And away you'll go. You'll have a step-by-step process on how to do that right there. That's really how and the simple approach. So what we have now, Eliana, we've got our second poll question.
Yes, we do, audience. I hope you're ready. I want all of you to try and vote on this one. This is a great question. Well, before Jim starts talking about data mining, well, we want to know, do you currently have a data mining solution in place at your dealership? And please select one of the following answers. Is it yes and it's working great? Is it yes but we aren't utilizing it as much as we could? Is it no but we're thinking about it? How about no, management would never spend money on that? Or I didn't even know data mining existed. What the heck is data mining? Whatever the answer is, we want to know. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we'll close this poll and share the results. And audience, thank you so much for taking the time to vote in our poll questions. We really appreciate your participation. And Jim, I just want you to know we're already starting to get some really great comments about your presentation so far and some really thought-provoking questions. So cool. I hope you're ready for the Q&A session because
cool.
If history is any indication, I will let you know that my audience, yeah, they're going to put you on the spot.
Cool. Let's rock and roll. Let's go.
They're pretty smart cookies out there. So they're going to put you on the spot, and they're really going to see what you're made out of, my friend. Okay, so let's see what we have here. We're going to close this poll and share the results. Audience, thank you so much for voting. We really appreciate it. Well, overwhelmingly, 71% of my amazing audience today said yes, but they admit they aren't utilizing it as much as they could. Now, 19% of today's audience said yes, and it's working great. 8% said not yet, but they're thinking about getting a data mining solution in place. And an even 1% splits the difference on the last two options. No, management would never spend money on that, and no, what the heck is data mining? So, Jim, what can you tell our wonderful audience about data mining?
Well, data mining is the way you're going to find customers in your database of customers to sell cars to. Because let's face it, back when I first started selling Chevrolets way back when, it was pretty easy. Cars were inexpensive. There was short-term financing. It went up to 36 months worth of financing. But most people finance for 24 or 30 months. So the salespeople of yesteryear, of the 50s and 60s, this is how they traded them out every year. At the end of 12 months, if they let's say the customer left and went into 30 months worth of financing. Well, at the end of 12 months, heck, you're almost halfway there. You're almost halfway. 15 months, you're halfway through the term, and you're going to have some equity there. So it's a whole lot easier back in those days to be able to do that. These days, you need a data mining system because Lord knows you can have two identical customers. Both of them bought 2011 Honda Accords. Again, one of them was $3,000 upside down and put no money down and rolled that $3,000 worth of negative equity into the new loan on the new car. When does that become an opportunity? Well, that will become an opportunity, but it won't be for later on as compared to the other customer that had equity in their trade, put maybe $3,000 or $4,000 down. So now they've got $5,000 or $6,000 worth of money they're putting down towards the car versus refinancing $3,000 worth of negative equity. They both have 2011 Honda Accords. Who do you approach? You need a data mining system to be able to do that. You need to know who to approach, who to sell to, and that's the best endorsement I can give for any data mining solution.
Agreed. Also, audience, I would love to encourage you to go onto Twitter, and if you're hearing things that you like and you want to comment on it and you want to give a shout out to Jim Kristoff, please use our DEALERUN Webby hashtag. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jim, where do we go from here?
Well, let's talk about who should be doing this out in the service drive, because I've seen several different ways of doing it, both of them very, very successful. Now, the first way to do it, obviously, is to put salespeople out there in the service drive. Let's talk about that. Putting salespeople out in the service drive versus a concierge type person in the service drive. There's two different ways to do that. First of all, salespeople are probably the best in the service drive to go ahead and do this with, because number one, they already know all your processes. They already know what to do. They know where the keys are, where the dealer plates are, what the demonstration drive should look like. They've got all these processes down pat. We just need to train the word tracks and the mindset to the salesperson. That way the salesperson can take it all the way from the start to the finish, meaning they're identifying the customer, they're making the offer to the customer agrees to it, they then select an automobile and take them through the entire sales process. So salespeople out there doing it is probably the best way to do it. I've also seen some great results with what we call a concierge in the service drive. Concierge, that happens a lot in dealerships where you've got a lot of salespeople that have been there a long time. I can cite to you a particular Mercedes-Benz dealer that I do business with that has salespeople that have been there for 20 years, 15 years, 18 years, 10 years, 12 years. Lord knows they've been there forever. Great sales team. By the way, there's a great Mercedes store too, by the way. What they had, they originally we put two salespeople out there. But what was happening was they were going ahead and approaching other salespeople's customers. So what they were doing was bringing them in and putting them in front of that salesperson. So the amount of opportunities that those salespeople had were somewhat limited, because we don't want to step on anybody's toes. We don't want to make anybody upset. We don't want to make anybody angry. Lord knows in a majority of stores out there, there's plenty of orphan owners with salespeople that have come and gone. They're no longer there anymore. You have ample opportunity out there, ample opportunity. Concierge works really, really well in the stores where salespeople have been there a long time. I also have concierge, you know, in regular stores. You know, I'll cite a particular Ford store, for example. You know, we've got a woman out there. She was in real estate. She's got a super personality, super over the top kind of demeanor. She is going out there and simply identifying the customers, giving them the offer, saying, listen, hey, we'd love to buy your car. If the customer responds positively, she then brings them right over into the showroom, puts them with a sales manager, and they proceed accordingly. So I've seen it happen in either case, salespeople, concierge, it doesn't matter. Here's what I do know about every dealership that's out there. There are three distinct things about dealerships that are out there. Number one, every dealership has its own unique facility. Every store is different. Every building is different. So everybody's got a different facility. Number two, everyone has different people, meaning some stores have BDCs, others don't have BDCs, some have hybrids of these things. They have all kinds of different people doing all kinds of different things. And the third thing is everyone has different skill levels of those people. So every person's got a different skill level. If you've been in the automobile business a long time, hopefully your skill level is high. If you're just new to the car business, you don't have it all down pat yet. So those things, everybody's got a different facility, different people, different, you know, abilities of those people. Here's what we want to do. We want to custom mold to what you have. You know, I have a best practice way of doing it, but I also have the idea that not every store is exactly the same. Not every store has the same exact customers. Some are in areas of great affluence. Some are in areas of not so great affluence. So you get different customers, different people, different things. Let's mold something that's going to work for you. So that's who should do it out there. So you can do it either way. Salespeople, concierge, it really doesn't matter because we can mold it to whatever you want to do.
All right, I got to stop you right there. I got to stop you right there because that last slide generated so much, I don't want to say controversy, but comments. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read a few of them to you because there are still some people who I think need a little bit more explanation on what kind of person should be doing it.
Okay.
So, for instance, we have Chris, who wrote in, this is a very important topic as to who should be on the service drive. In fact, it can make much like a blown save by having the wrong personality there. I have gone through several salespeople, and I am still in search of the right person. Obviously, Chris needs some help. Bob wrote in, Bob wrote in, when starting a dedicated service lane team to handle these customers, how immediate have you seen results? And then he's asking about, is there a payment difference? Is there compensation? How do you find those people? And then Becky says, I'm a salesperson who acts as a concierge. I turn the lead into a buyback situation and move them forward to a salesperson, and that frees me up to contact even more people. So now what we're talking about here is people. Do you put the salesperson in or you find somebody else entirely? And now you're about to talk about putting in a full-time team. Oh my goodness. So the process, is that as important as finding the right person as well?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Let's hit Chris's question first. He was first that you mentioned there. He's obviously tried several people out there. He hasn't found the right one.
He's tried several salespeople, he said, yes.
Okay. So you know, the question I have back is, did we have the right word tracks and the right mindsets and the right abilities to be able to convey those word tracks and mindsets to the customer? Because I can tell you, you could stick the very best salesperson you have out there. If they don't have the right word tracks and the right mindset, they're going to fail. Just like I failed. I mean, I'd like to think I can sell a car to anybody. Lord knows I've been doing it for a long time. You know, I went out there initially with the wrong word tracks, with the wrong mindset. I was trying to sell cars, and I can tell you it wasn't successful. Now, did I sell a couple of cars? Sure, I sold a couple of cars, but I can tell you it's the word tracks and the mindset. You've got to get away from selling somebody a car. You simply want to buy theirs. There's a whole different dynamic between selling somebody something and telling somebody, you have exactly what I want, you have exactly what I desire, I need to buy it from you. It's a whole different dynamic. And I can tell you, if we get the dynamics down, you're going to be successful out there. There's no doubt about it. So salespeople really are the best. So what was the second question, Eliana?
Well, the second one, so many people are writing in right now. It's crazy. The second one came from Bob, and Bob was wondering how you convince a salesperson to take this position. Do you have, and how quickly do you see results? So he's really wondering about compensation. Is there some sort of income for the initial time frame until there's some success? How do you convince a salesperson who's used to being on the floor and used to getting those ups to now do this service thing?
Well, it's very easy, because if you're a salesman that's just taking ups, you know, I'm going to say to you this. Now, let me get this right. You want to wait at the front door. You're going to wait at the front door for an up, and three things can happen there. The first one, they could be $8,000 upside down. The second one, they could have a 400 beacon. The third one, they're not even driving your product. They're not even sold on your product. So you've got people walking in the front door that have huge negative equity, that have low credit, that are not driving your product, not sold on your product, not sold on your facility, not sold on your people, but you want to wait for them. Or in contrast, if we go out to the service lane, let's talk to everyone. And when I say everyone, the data mining solution is going to identify the people that we can go talk to. Out of those 10 to 20% of the database that we're going to go talk to, here's what happens. They're all in a position we can sell a car to. None of them have negative equity. Secondly, they all have a previous loan, so worrying about a low beacon score is kind of negligible. It's probably not going to happen. We're always going to lose 1 or 2% because they go backwards. You know, they're ready to go bankrupt, but heck, we can refinance 98% of them. And here's the best part. They're already sold on your product. They're already sold on your facility. They're already sold on your people. My goodness, are we going to wait at the front door and sell 25% of the people that have negative equity, that are a 390 beacon, that are driving some foreign product, or do we want to wait on the people that we know we can do something with, that have got a previous loan, is probably going to get another one, and that's already driving our product? And I can tell you the compensation program is the same. Whatever pay plan that you have for salespeople, it's the same pay plan in the service drive. It's just another place of getting ups. It's just another place of getting opportunities to do business. It's just another place to go talk to customers. But I can tell you the quality of customers that are coming through your service drive, because using a data mining tool, I'm only going to talk to 10 to 20% of the people walking through the service drive. The other 80 or 90%, I'm not even going to talk to. There's no reason to talk to them. They're not in a position yet. So if you want to wait by the front door, Mr. Salesperson or Miss Salesperson, and wait for the people that are upside down with a 390 beacon that are driving a different product, go for it. I want to go. I'm a guy. I'm a slave to the numbers. The numbers tell me the better opportunities lay with those customers that we have identified in the data mining solution, that you can sell a car to, that have got a previous loan, that are already sold on your people and facility. God bless, those are the people that I want to talk to. And the compensation plan is the same, because it's just another place of getting an up, getting an opportunity, getting a customer. So the compensation plan shouldn't change at all. And as far as instant results, if we've got the mindset, if we've got the word tracks, we can have instant results. I can tell you, I go out to service drives when I do service drive training. I'll go out there with an iPad. Inevitably, I'll find somebody we're going to go sell a car to within an hour. And Lord knows, because I've got the right word tracks, the right mindset, and I'm telling these customers we want to buy their car, all of a sudden it results in a sale. Now, in any process, you're going to crawl, walk, run, then fly. So you got to give your people 30, 60, 90 days to get acclimated to the whole thing. And who's holding those people accountable? Are they trained? Do they know the right word tracks and mindsets? So, and what was the third question, Eliana?
Well, wait, before you go any further, I just want you to know, we have some people who wrote in. For instance, Joe wrote in. He says, I'm a salesman, and I was given the job to be the sales manager for, and in full disclosure, he does use auto alert.
Okay.
Okay, and he says, this is our first full month in, and we have 35 out for the month. Joe,
amen.
Thank you so much for writing that in. Now, along with that, Becky wrote in. She said, our sales staff fought it tooth and nail. They told me I was going to experience a slow death, and I was being set up for failure. It is now something that they all wish they were doing, because now Becky is the one who's the salesperson who's been put into that service drive to try and re-up people. So, Becky, congratulations on your success as well. Now, I don't want to get too far off track because I know you have a lot more things, but audience, I love your comments. And Jim, I'm going to read every single one of these suckers to you later on, okay? Because we have some great, great comments and questions from our audience. But I do want you to get back on track if you wouldn't mind. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer those couple of questions with such wonderful insight. Please take it away.
Not a problem. The full-time team out there, they're out there from when the service lane opens until they close. So they've got to be out there from 7 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning until your service drive closes. Now I've got the complete process of how to do that, because if they're coming in between 7 and 9, that usually means they're dropping off their car to go to work. I probably don't want to approach those people because we've already taken them out of their normal pattern, their normal way of life. They've gotten up earlier. They had to bring their car into service. Most people would rather get a root canal than get their car serviced. So we've taken them out of their normal routine. To add more on top of it, I don't want to do that. Here's what I do endorse in my process is this. At 9:30, when everybody's already dropped off their car and they're already gone to work, because Lord knows between 7 and 9, it's chaos usually in a service drive. So at 9:30, I'm going to then send them an email of the offer. And the reason I want to send it right there, right then and there, if they drop their car off at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 9:30 they're getting an email from the dealership in regards to their car, it's almost 100% they're going to open up that email. At the bottom of the email, of course, we're going to make them the offer in the email, and at the bottom of the email, we're going to invite them to do 3 things. Either number 1, call me ASAP, 2, email me back, or 3, I'll see you when you come pick up your car in the service drive, because guess what? They have to come back. Now, I can tell you, if you get a phone call or an email back, you've got a deal working. And the worst thing, or the worst case scenario is you just go greet them on the service drive afterwards and take their temperature, see what it's all about. So it's a full-time gig out there in the service drive. I can also tell you, we need some point-of-sale material and some marketing material out there. Simple things like whiteboards. You're searching for these kinds of cars. If you know you've got 5 people coming into the service drive and they're all opportunities to do business with, and they're driving different years and models of cars, why not put on this whiteboard or a TV that you're looking for those particular cars? Because that way when they come into the service drive, they say, God, I'm driving a 2011 Accord. They're looking for those cars. So point-of-sale material is always good. Planting the seed on delivery. I can tell you that's a big one right there. Planting the seed on delivery. I've got stores that do this right now. We have stores throughout Auto Alert that are doing this right now. On delivery, they're planting the seed. And here's what I mean. If you're taking delivery of a 2014 whatever today, usually a sales manager goes and shakes their hand and thanks them for their business. Here's what you add into the mix. Geez, Mr. Smith, thank you very much for your 2014 purchase today. Hey, don't be surprised if within the next 24 months or so, we just call you up and buy that car back from you. And the customer will say, what are you talking about? We have a huge demand for 1-, 2-, 3-year-old cars. I'm going to tell you, we don't want to, this is the way we replenish our used car inventory. We can't even find those cars at the auction. So we'll probably end up buying that car back from you. But good luck with the vehicle, and I'll see you soon. Now we planted the seed. Now when salespeople are making follow-up phone calls, because on delivery, the first couple of phone calls a salesperson makes, it's still the honeymoon period. Everybody's happy with everybody. Now Mr. Smith owns that car for 11 months. As a salesperson, what do you say to that customer? Hey, Mr. Smith, how you doing? How's the wife? How's the kids? How's the golf game? You go fishing lately? It's usually a boring conversation. But what if we could add this into the mix? Mr. Smith, I see you've owned your car for about 11 months. Don't be surprised within the next year or so we reach out to you and just buy that car back from you. And if we do buy it back from you, here's how crazy we are about it. What if we could give you another one? We give you a brand new one for about the same payment you're paying now with no money down. Expect that phone call in another year or so. That way, when they do turn into an opportunity, when the data mining solution tells you that this is an opportunity to do business with, then it's not a foreign phone call. They've heard it before. So planting the seed on delivery, and with every conversation and interaction, mention this to them. Put it on your point of sale material, your marketing material, whatever you're sending out. I mean, you could be the buyback world. You know, ABC Motors, we buy back everyone's cars. I mean, it could go as crazy as that. Use it as a marketing instrument for yourself. So that's what we try to do. We try to group all that together, plant the seed, marketing, and point of sale material right there. So the takeaways today, again, 10 to 20% of your entire database you can do business with right now. But you got to know who. You've got to know who to approach, what to say, what your mindsets are, what you got to do. You've got to be able to do this. Your offer's got to be straightforward. Don't use the word sell, trade, and sale, because as soon as you start trying to sell somebody something that's not in the market to be sold, you're going to fail. And that's what I find in a lot of stores. They're trying to sell these people cars. And I understand that's what we do, but it's the mindset of what the customer perceives, what they interpret. In other words, instead of trying to sell them something, simply spin it around and say, hey, you have exactly what we desire. We'd like to buy it back from you. It gives it a whole different dynamic right there. Build a real sales team in your service department. I can tell you I've got stores that have 3 and 4 salespeople out in the service drive just knocking this thing dead. I'll use the quote from one of the salespeople there. He says, I used to wait for ups at the front door, but going back here with a data mining solution, this is like shooting fish in a barrel with a laser beam. He says it's simple. I know who to approach, who not to approach, who I'm going to waste my time with, who I'm not going to waste my time with, and if I know I'm not wasting my time, I can present in a confident and competent way to this customer. I can relate to them that we want to buy their car from them. So capitalize on your best sources of business. I mean, the people in your database are your best source of business. Lord knows we market and advertise to try to gain more business, gain more market share. What are we really spending in dollars and people hours in retaining those customers in our service drive by buying their car and taking them out of their car, putting them in another one for about the same payment with no money down? So I hope those takeaways work for you right there. You know, we're on the question and answer, but we've already answered some Q&A. So what else do we have, Eliana?
Oh my gosh, we have so many questions from our awesome audience. We're going to get to every single one of those questions if we can fit it in. But before we get to those questions, and audience, seriously, this is a great webinar topic. So I know you have questions. If you have more questions, now's a great time to write them in, because we're going to get to the Q&A session in just another minute. Before we do that, we're going to give away a prize. So if you were here at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our great friends at Auto Alert are giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. What is it? Well, one of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning a $250 Visa gift card, all for you, just to spend on you. So, what do you have to do for it? Well, you got to answer a question about today's presentation that you just saw. Now, the first one to write in the correct response will win this awesome prize. So, I'm going to give you a second. Get to your keyboards. Get ready. We got some fast typers on here, and we have a lot of people on this webinar, and only one of you is going to win. So good luck, everyone. Here's your question. Now, earlier in today's program, Jim Kristoff talked about using your dealership's database, and that a particular group from your dealership's database you could sell a new car to for about the same payment with no money down. What percentage of your dealership's database can you sell a new car to? Oh my goodness. Oh my God. There's like 100 people writing in right now. Maybe 200. Okay, audience, I'm sure we have a winner. Thank you so much for playing. Wait, stop. I have to scroll up and see who the first person was who wrote in. Oh my goodness. Holy for holies. Let's see.
Annie M, it's a twister.
The very first person who wrote in the correct response. Well, we want to say congratulations to David Sharp. His correct response of 10 to 20% was the very first one that was in. Congratulations, David Sharp. We're very, very pleased for you. Please send on in your mailing address and the dealership name so we can give you proper congratulations. Audience, thank you so much for playing along. I wish we could give you all $250. Alas, we only have one this time, but don't worry. Every week we give away a prize, a different prize. So hopefully you'll come back to another Dealer-On webinar and try your luck again. David Sharp, where are you from, my friend? Elliott Auto Group in Mount Pleasant, Texas. Thank you so much. Congratulations, David Sharp. You are our winner today. And, of course, we want to thank Auto Alert for their incredible generosity. David, if you wouldn't mind writing in your mailing address, I would love that. Now, let's get started with these amazing questions from our audience. Now, audience, if you have a question that you already wrote into me, I promise you I will try and get to as many of them as possible. We do have a lot of questions in. So, Jim, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, let's start off with this first question. Let's see. Sherry wrote in, what about customers who lease? The next slide, please. What about customers who lease? Telling them you want to buy their car may put you in a position to buy out a lease you may not want. Now, Jim, I assume that if you have one of these really good data mining solutions like Auto Alert has, that it wouldn't indicate that every car that comes through would be one that you could buy out, right?
Absolutely right. I mean, it's that your entire database, only 10 to 20% of your database, and that's a big chunk. I mean, you start talking, 10,000 people in a database, and 10 to 20% of them, that's 1,000 to 2,000 customers. So a data mining solution is only going to identify those people that are in a lease that you can actually do something with. So that's step number one. Step number two is this. If it's more advantageous for the dealership to not buy the car and just return it to the lease company, that's okay too. Because here's what we're looking for when we go out to the service drive. We're looking for someone that is ready for an upgrade. We're looking for someone that has interest. Because remember that J.D. Powers and NADA, all those surveys, they tell you that when somebody buys or leases a brand new car, the majority of them would like to do something in 24 months. Unfortunately, they're not in a position to do anything in 24 months because if they're in a 36-month lease, they might not be able to get out. Or if they're in a 72-month, 84-month finance, they might not be able to get out depending upon how much money they put down. See, there are different parameters for every deal. Some people put no money down. Some people put $10,000 down. Some roll over negative equity into a loan or a lease. Others have positive equity from a previous car that they're rolling into a loan or a lease. So you never know where you are, but the data mining solution does. So you're not going to approach anyone that's not in a position to do something with. So remember, it's 10 to 20%, which means correspondingly 80 to 90% of the customers that are coming in your service drive, you're not even going to engage with them. You're not even going to talk to them. So you're going to only approach the ones that you can do something with. And if it's better to buy the car or turn it in to the lease company, that's up to the management. That's up to however the deal works out the best. What you're really looking for, and I can't emphasize this enough, is a willing party. You're looking for a willing customer that says, you know what? I am sick of this car. I'd like to take a look at another one. You want to buy this thing? Fantastic. You can buy it. What are my choices? That's what you're really looking for.
I mean,
that's the mindset.
I got to be honest with you, Jim. I mean, now I know, Jim, you and I are just starting to get to know each other, but what most people who've been on my shows know is that I've never worked at a dealership, and so I am learning the nuances of dealership life. But as a consummate shopper, I would have to say that if I was in a dealership and somebody came up to me and said, I want to buy your car, I'll put you in a newer car, same one if you'd like, for same price, no money down, it's kind of a no-brainer.
It truly is. I mean, if you tell somebody, listen, you've got a 2011 Accord now. You're going to leave the service department here. You're still going to have a payment. Would you rather have a payment on a 2011 Accord, or would you like that same exact payment with no money down and leave with a 2014 that has new tires, new brakes, new car smell? Love that new car smell stuff, right?
Okay, I got it.
That's what we're talking about right there. So, and you're exactly right. But it's all in the word tracks. It's all how we present it. And it's called sales, right? That's what we do when we sell something. It's all in the presentation. In the
selling without selling. Now, audience, I know we're going to try and get to as many questions as possible. Jim, I need you to make your answers like super short.
You got it.
So we can fit some more questions in. And audience, we are recording this. I will send you a link to the recording. And if you want a copy of the PowerPoint deck, please email me at eliana@dealerun.com, and I will get that out to you as quickly as I can after this webinar concludes. And in there you have those word tracks. Of course, then we have this recording as well. So let's go to this next question. Stevie wrote in regards to saying, after we buy your car to replenish our used car inventory, we will get you into a new car for about the same payment, etc. Well, what if the customer doesn't have any payments? What do you think about that, Jim?
We do cash deals all the time. If they have no payments, it's simply the same exact offer, but it just doesn't have anything to do with a payment. If they paid cash for the vehicle or they have no more payments left in the vehicle, the approach is the same. Hello, Mr. Smith. My name's Jim Kristoff. I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions here at the store. I see you're driving a particular year, make, and model car. Can we buy it from you? It's the same pitch. It just has nothing to do with payments at that point. So, again, you're going to find out you're looking for someone to raise their hand. They're ready to do something. So whether they have payments or don't have payments, Lord knows we transform a lot of cash deals also.
Okay, great question, Stevie. We have some more questions from Stevie coming up in just a little bit. Next question comes from Patrick. I think he's asking a question that a lot of people want to know. He says, don't you run the risk of annoying the customer if you are persistent for too long?
Well, here's the thing. If you're persistent with the wrong message, you're going to annoy somebody. But if you're persistent with something that's going to benefit them, I don't think you're annoying at all. Because remember the story that I told you about the gentleman for 9 months. We sent him a voicemail, 9 months we emailed him. Here's the biggest objection. They simply don't believe you. So if we're consistent with the message, we're persistent with the message. We're not obnoxious with the message. Here's what we're trying to do. That's why I try to keep it as short and concise as I can. And short and concise means we just want an opportunity to buy your car. This is the way we replenish our used car inventory. We can't find these cars at the auction. If that's the message, rather than selling something, because you're right. If you're pulling on their shirt sleeve and trying to sell them something, you're going to annoy them. There's no doubt about it. But in my approach, I'm trying to buy the car. It's a whole different dynamic. It's actually a benefit to the customer. Because sooner or later, and I can tell you after doing this for 30 years, after being in the retail automobile business for 30 years, I haven't seen anyone keep their car forever. They're going to get rid of it at some point.
At some point.
At some point. Don't you want to be the person to have an opportunity to then thus sell them another car when they're ready? That's what I mean by I want to buy your car today, but I'll also buy it tomorrow. I'll buy it next week. I'll buy it next month. I'll buy it next year, but I just want to buy it. Please allow us the opportunity.
Patrick, good luck with that. Great question, by the way. Robin wrote in saying, how can we leverage this approach if we are a franchise dealer for new cars but do not sell used cars? Boom, Jim. What do we do?
What do you do?
What do you do?
The customers may not know we don't sell used cars, because what do we do with these trades? We're either bringing them to the auction or we're wholesaling them. We're getting rid of them somehow, right? The customer doesn't need to know that. The customer just needs to know we need these cars. And Lord knows if you're turning a wholesale profit, you would need those cars. You know, if you're making a couple of $100 on every wholesale car that you can get, and Lord knows, you know, I know lots of guys that are out there like Ben Cusick. Ben Cusick is a guy that makes money on wholesale. So, you know, and I had to give him a shout out today. So it's all in the approach. It's all in your mindset. The customer doesn't know we don't sell used cars, so it really doesn't matter to them. So good question, though.
Yes, thank you, Robin. That was great. Okay, Michael wrote in. He says, our lease percentage is 70%. How well does the equity mining program work with leasing? And, follow-up question, how well will this work if our service department is 4 miles from our showroom?
Well, you know, it really doesn't matter whether they're leasing or financing. I've got stores that do 75, 85% leasing. Lord knows, if they're in a 36-month lease, after 36 months, they're going to need another car anyways, right? So, you know, what we're doing is we're just going to fast forward them a little bit through that process, through the data mining. So we're going to try to fast forward them through that lease a little bit and get them in another car. That's primarily the reason people lease cars, because they want to be in a new car every 36 months. Believe me, they would do an 18-month lease if the payment worked. That's why we stretch the term out to 36 months to make it more palatable. So all those people are going to want to get out of a car. And if your service facility is 4 miles down the road, I guess you're going to have to go 4 miles down the road, set up camp, and start selling cars. Start buying them from them, because it's all in the process. You're going to have to, like I said before, everybody's got different facilities, right? So if you got a different kind of facility, I would have to sit down with you and your team to figure out what kind of process we could put together to make it work, because it can all work. It's just got to be a process. So, you know, if you want to reach out to me later on, you can certainly email me. There's my email address on the screen right there. Be more than happy to go through a process with you and try to help you out.
Yeah, you know, because we had another person who wrote in with kind of the same situation. It says one of the stores in our group has a unique situation because the service drive is at a separate location from the store showroom. So, honestly, I've been dealing with Jim with this webinar for a little while now. He's the sweetest guy ever, and as you can see, easy to talk to. So don't hesitate whatsoever writing or calling him directly and finding out if Jim might be able to help you directly. So let's go to this next question. By the way, thank you so much for that, Michael. Those were great questions. Hunter wrote in, what would be a reasonable close percentage based on your total service visits? 5% of your total service appointments every month? 10%? Do you have any idea, Jim?
Absolutely. If we're closing 25% of the opportunities that are coming through the front door, we should close 25% of the valid opportunities that we have, that we've identified in the data mining system. We should close 25% of all of those people, because if we're closing 25% of the people that are coming in the front door that are $9,000 upside down with a 390 Beacon driving some other kind of car, we've got to be able to close that same kind of percentage of people that are in a position to get another car for about the same payment with no money down, that aren't up, that have a previous loan and that are already driving your car. So it all depends on how many of those opportunities in any given day, week, or month are actually filtering into your service drive. It all comes into play how well you're retaining all those customers back from sales into service. Lord knows that's the lowest hanging fruit, I think, in a dealership. We sell a whole bunch of cars, but unfortunately most stores are averaging 30 to 40% customer retention in the service drive. There are some stores that are 75 and 80%. God bless you, I take my hat off to you. You've got the right processes and the right things that you're doing out there. So it all depends on how many of them you're bringing back into the store for service, as to get a percentage of how many people directly correlated with how many service appointments or visits that you have. It all depends on how many of those people you're dragging back in.
Okay, great. So, Hunter, I hope that helped you out. Now we have some more people who are writing in. So let's get to this next question from Peter. He says,
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. He starts right
Yeah.
off the bat. How do you know who is who in the customer lounge? We tried the method that you're explaining, but it did not work because customers still felt pressured. So we took a different approach where I'm initially talking to them about the quality assurance and then addressing the vehicle upgrade program by explaining to the customer that I'm just here to provide information, also that they can test drive while they're waiting and or get their car appraised, and still the sales are small. And he goes on to say that it's easy for him to talk to customers very easily, but it's still not working. How would 20 sales even be possible? And he says his service lane opens at 7, and he starts around 7:30, and it goes on until 3 o'clock. So,
Eliana, read back what his main things are right there. What his main hills to climb. You cited 3 or 4 of them, right?
yeah, well, the first one he says, how do you know who's who in the customer lounge?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
That was the first one.
Okay, keep going.
And then he said, so since they still felt pressured because it looks like I came right for them, then they said that they took a different approach where they're talking to them about the quality assurance and then addressing the vehicle upgrade program by explaining to the customer that they're just here to provide information.
Stop right there.
Yes.
If we're talking about vehicle upgrade promotions and things like that, that means to the customer you're trying to sell me something. So I think that's the wrong mindset. That's the wrong approach right there. And knowing who's who in the customer lounge, if I'm out in the service drive when these customers are pulling in, I'm seeing who's getting out of the car. And I'm walking right over to the car and identifying it in auto alert and in our data mining system. All we need is the vehicle identification number. So if I'm out there with an iPad, I'm going to go right over to the vehicle. As this person gets out of the car, goes over and talks to the service advisor, I go ahead and enter in the vehicle identification number to find out if I've got somebody I can talk to. Is it the 10 to 20% that I can actually do something with, or is it the 80 or 90% that I can't do anything with? If it's one of the 10 to 20% that I can do something with, they just got out of the car. They're still talking to the service advisor. That's why it's important to be on the drive, to be there, to see the customers, because that's your opportunity right there. Don't wait for them to hit the customer lounge. You're right. It's too late. And by the time you engage them in the customer lounge and giving them a vehicle upgrade program, that says sales all over it. It screams you're trying to sell them a car. Don't do it. Change your mindset. Change your process. Go out to the service drive. Identify those people while they're still out in the service drive or close to the service advisor. You see who got out of the car. It takes literally, 5 seconds to enter in the last 8 numbers of a vehicle identification number. So I enter in the last 8, I hit enter, I can see whether I've got somewhere between the 10 and 20% or the 80 or 90%. If I've got one of those people that are 10 to 20%, want somebody I can do something with, I look over and say, wow, there's a person in a green shirt, and I know who to engage. I wait until they're done with the service advisor, and then before they go to the customer lounge, I approach them. Hey, listen, we're trying to buy back cars. Do you think we could have the opportunity to buy yours? So your whole approach, your whole engagement, your whole mindset really needs to change a little bit there. Because if it's a vehicle upgrade or a vehicle exchange program, let me tell you, everybody's got a vehicle exchange program. It's called selling them a car. I mean, that's what customers think. You got to put your customer hat on. This is what the customer thinks. This is what the customer feels. As soon as they start hearing vehicle exchange or vehicle upgrades or any of that jargon that we're using right there, it's a recipe for failure. That's why I try to keep it so simple and direct. I just tell the customer, listen, do you think we could buy your car back from you? That's the best approach.
I do want to share this one. Becky was kind enough to write in this story. He said, we had an owner who drove in with a black Ford Focus he had only made 11 payments on. Becky went up to him and said, did you get everything you wanted when you purchased your Focus? and he said he really wanted a candy blue one, but no one had one on the lot when he purchased. Well, guess what? She sold him the candy blue one, and he only paid $19 more in his payment, and he was in love. Becky, thank you so much for that story. I really appreciate that. Okay, Peter, I hope that Jim's answer helped you out. Let's get to our next question from Keegan. Keegan says, how do we only speak to your targeted customer in the service drive? Shouldn't we ask every car? If so, should the data mining be used to email and direct mail targeting customers as well? So, Jim, are you saying that people should only talk to people in the service drive or anyone in the database?
Well, certainly anyone in the database. You know, today's topic is how to do this on the service drive, but actually we're gonna make phone calls out of BDCs or have salespeople make phone calls. So it's a two-edged sword. You know, we're gonna, step one is to make phone calls to these customers and try to get them on the phone and get an appointment to come in and buy their car from them. But here's what I do know. If you're making outbound phone calls, let's say we made 10 outbound phone calls, how many people do we really talk to? I mean, 7, 8, 9 of them are going to go to voicemail. We're lucky to talk to 1 or 2 people because everybody's got caller ID and they just put everything on the voicemail. So we're lucky to talk to 1 or 2 of them. Here's what I know about working the service drive. They're all there live and with their car. There's nowhere, they can't escape. It doesn't go to voicemail. So the lowest hanging fruit of the people you can engage and go talk to, and absolutely you want to engage everybody in the database. You know, I can tell you this: if you're solely sending them direct mail pieces or email blasts or things like that, here's what happens: they think it's a sales proposition. No matter how you word it, no matter how you spin it, no matter what you do, and I'm not saying not to do it because it does have some redeeming stuff to it. But I'm going to tell you, if you want the biggest bang for the buck, go shake somebody's hand. Go press some flesh. Go talk to somebody. In this day and age, this is what we want to do. We all want to talk via social media, text, you know, all these different things. We don't want to interact with people anymore. And I can tell you the best way to do something is to interact with them. So hopefully out in the service drive, you know, you're interacting with 100% of everyone. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Keegan, I really do hope that helped you out. Okay, this is a great question from Patrick. Remember when I said earlier, Jim, that somebody in my audience was going to put you on the spot? Patrick is here to do just that. He says,
Cool.
He says, regardless of the scenario, I just don't see how you overcome a salesperson being angry that another employee is talking to their customer about getting them out of the vehicle that they sold them.
Well, absolutely. There's got to be processes set up within the dealership, and there are many different ways to do it. I mean, to go through all those different ways would require another half an hour of a webinar. But I can tell you there are several processes set up, and I agree with you, Patrick. If you were out in the service drive and you encountered one of my customers, we were both salespeople on the same showroom floor, you encountered one of my customers and you were about to sell one of my customers, I'd probably beat the living heck out of you. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but there are processes to set up so we alleviate that, so we don't let that get in the way. So I can tell you, you can email me or give me a call, you know, coming up. I'll be more than happy to run through some of those scenarios for you. Absolutely, there's processes all around that, and I've done, right off the top of my head, there's 10 different ways you can do that. So it's easy enough done.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Okay. Okay, we do have a lot of questions that came in about what does this salesperson's day, place of business look like. So you get somebody that you think is going to rock this thing, like Becky, for instance, right? And so what time do they come in? Do they have a work area or a desk in the service area? We had a lot of questions about this person's post. So you already answered that they don't get paid any different, right? But what's their day and place of where they work look like?
Well, first of all, let me answer the second part of that question. Everyone's got a different facility. You've got some service lanes that are all enclosed, that are huge, that are, air conditioned, heated, out of the elements, and then you have some service drives. They're outdoors. I mean, you drive up to the garage door and somebody's greeting you outside. So it all depends on the facility. Here's what I like to do. I don't really want a desk. I don't want anything but an iPad. I just want to be able to work off an iPad because that way the office is going to the customer. Now the first part of that question is, what does the day look like? I can tell you if your service drive opens at 7 or 7:30, whenever it opens, that person, these people that are working the service drive are working the service hours. So they're there. If the service drive opens at 7 a.m., you need to be there at 6:45. Get ready for the day. Lord knows, how about a little attitude of gratitude out there as customers are coming in, even if you can't put them in another car for about the same payment with no money down? How about we just say, thank you for your business, welcome to the dealership. Help out the service advisor, because Lord knows there's mass chaos at between 7 and 9 a.m. That team works the service hours. So what their day looks like, let's say we open up at 7 a.m. They're identifying all these people that we could make this offer to, but we're not going to approach them because they're going to go on their way to work. I don't want to annoy them, right? So at 9:30, when it slows down a little bit because everybody's already gone off to work, that's when I'm going to go back and the 4, 5 people, 2 people, however many people came in that are in that position that we've identified through the data mining system, we're going to go ahead and send them an email of the offer. Here's what we'd like to do. We've identified your car. We'd like to buy it back from you. We want to buy it back so bad. How about if we give you another one for about the same payment with no money down? We tell them the story. This is the way we replenish our used car inventory. Please, I'm going to give you 3 options. Please call me ASAP, email me back, or I'll see you when you come pick up the car from service. That way, when they come back to pick up their car, because guess what? They got to come pick up their car. Now I've already identified that car as it's coming through the service lane, whether the porter or the service advisor is bringing it up for the customer. I'm going to engage the customer right then and there. I'm going to go shake their hand. Hi, I'm Jim Kristoff. Did you get my email today? I'd really love to have the opportunity to purchase your car back from you and take their temperature. See where they're at in the process. Maybe they got to go talk to their spouse. Maybe they got to go talk to somebody. Then at least they have it in black and white, what you're trying to propose to them, then they can take it there. Then we're putting notes in and we're following up with them. You got to remember, these opportunities that are coming through your service drive are just better opportunities than the ones that are coming in your front door. They're better because you can do something with them. They're better because they do business with you. They're better because they're in a current loan or lease. They'll probably get another one. They're not $9,000 upside down. These are just better opportunities than the ones at the front door. Lord knows you still need to address the people at the front door, but if you take into account all these different things, these opportunities in the service drive are far better than the opportunities that are coming in the front door. Let's take advantage of them. And here's what's happening. Very few people are taking advantage of them or know the right steps, the right processes, and the right mindsets to get it done.
Gotcha. Okay, so yes, they have a work area, and it is a full-time job, yes?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
There we go. Okay, Shelley brought up a very interesting point. I definitely wanted to put that out there. She says, are these customers having an oil change and tire rotation or major work? Aren't we cutting into service gross?
Absolutely not. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to take that car in on trade. They're going to do the service work regardless of whether the customer pays for it or the dealership pays for it. Either the customer pays for it and goes on their way, or the dealership is going to pay for it in reconditioning the car, because we've got to recondition the car before it goes out onto the used car lot. So if it needed tires, if it needed brakes, if it needed whatever major service is going on, your used car manager is going to go ahead and do that service anyways, because they have to make the car sellable and frontline ready. We don't take anything from the service department. Matter of fact, here's what I suggest when I talk to dealers and general managers about this. Whatever the service ticket was going to be, pay the service advisor on it. Just go ahead and pay him what his normal commission would be, because they're going to do all that work anyways. So You're not taking any money from the mouths of anyone. You're not shortcutting a service advisor. You're not shortcutting a mechanic. The dealership is making money. The service advisor's making money. The mechanic's making money. And hopefully you're making money.
All right, well, there you go. Shelley, that was a great question, by the way. I want to get to this next question from Ron. He says, we currently are calling the customer to confirm their service appointment and telling them my used car manager has a buyer for their trade and trying to make an appointment. When they come in, we turn them over to a salesperson. What do you think about this process?
I don't like to alert anyone ahead of time because I'm going to give you a real simple exercise to do. I know most of you are sitting in front of your computer. Here's the exercise. Go on to Google. Everyone knows Google, right? So if you go on to Google and you type in these 3 words, new car price, type in new car price and hit the enter button. What you're going to find is somewhere between 750 million and 1 billion websites on Google that have those 3 words in it. So if we alert a customer ahead of time that maybe we want to purchase their car from them, maybe they're going to do some background stuff out of those billion websites that are out there, and we've just turned it into another sell kind of opportunity, another sale opportunity, because now we're down to selling them a car again. I don't want to alert anybody ahead of time at all. I want to just walk up to them, have a personal exchange with them. Listen, hey, we'd love to have the opportunity to buy your car from you. Think we could do that? I mean, it's that simple of a conversation. You know, it's almost it's that simple. Hi, we've identified your car in our data mining system is a car that we'd like to purchase back, and it looks like it's the perfect car for us. It's got the right mileage, it's got the right equipment, it's got the right color. If we could buy this car back from you, here's how badly we want to buy it from you. What if I told you we could give you a brand new one, keep your payment about the same as it is now, and I don't even need any money from you? That's how badly I want to buy yours. If we wait till they come in and give them that type of personal exchange, because you can't, when you call somebody on the phone, they can't see your body language. All they hear is the tonality in your voice. So you've got to give them the correct body language. You've got to give them the correct empathy. You've got to have that attitude of gratitude. Thank you for your business. Can you help us? Can we buy your car from you? That's going to win more than alerting someone beforehand, because here's what happens a lot, though, what I see. If we alert them ahead of time, they come in and just tell us no, right up front. No, I'm not interested. Get away from me. So, there's 2 schools of thought there. You can try to do it. There are stores that are very successful doing it that way. Me personally, I like to do it my way. So I think it's more genuine that way.
Okay, Ron, and I'm in the mindset, if it's working for you, hey man, go for it. But if you want to try something different, then maybe you'll go with this new approach and see if that may be as successful for you as well. Ron, whatever it is you do, good luck, my friend. Now, I do want to get to, we still have a ton of questions, and I know we're way over time, but we have still hundreds of people on this call, so
let's keep going.
I say we keep going, if that's all right. Yeah. Audience, I apologize for having this run long, but literally, I probably have another 20 or so questions in the queue. So
well, the 100 or so people that are still on, you just make sure you get all their names and everything, and I'll submit an invoice to them for my time. I'm very expensive. I'm
He's
very
kidding,
expensive.
audience.
I'm just kidding. Look at them all leaving now. Look at them all leaving. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Okay, let's get to this question we have from Bill. He says, we have auto alert at my dealership. Ah, that's great, Bill.
Fantastic.
But we only have the BDC contacting people. We are not using this on the actual service lane. What do I tell my manager to let me work service? Ooh, Bill. Bill's up for the challenge, Jim. What do you say?
Let's rock and roll, baby.
How do we get Bill into this new position in the service lane to sell to those service customers? What's the magic words, since you have all the word tracks?
The magic words are these: I want to work the very best customers. I'm tired of waiting on these ups that are coming in the front door that are $9,000 upside down with a 390 Beacon driving some other kind of car. I want to go out to the service drive and talk to our customers that are in a position to get another car, that are already here. Ask your manager this: out of all these outbound phone calls we're making, and by the way, we have to make these outbound phone calls. I'm not telling you not to do it, because it's like I say, it's a two-edged sword. We got to make phone calls. We got to staff a sales team in the service drive. So it's a two-pronged approach right there. But out of all these phone calls that the BDC is making, first of all, number one, how many out of every 10 phone calls are going directly to voicemail? You're going to come up with a number. You're going to get 7 or 8 of them out of every 10 that are going directly to voicemail. Number two, do we have the right message for the customer? Are we trying to buy back their car? Number three, isn't the easiest way to talk to a customer when they're there live and in color with their car? Because here's what the BDC is trying to do. They're trying to call the customer to set an appointment to get them to the dealership with the car. Aren't they already there at the dealership with the car when they're there for service? Let's sidestep the whole thing. Let's go engage those people, because if we're not engaging them, guess what? We're missing out on a whole bunch of sales. And God bless you. Go out there and rock the house, brother. I know you can.
Good luck, Bill. Wish you the best. Okay, next question comes from Stevie. And yes, I am going in order. Okay. Stevie says, currently we don't have anybody doing it, you know, in the service drive, I'm assuming he's talking about. However, they plan on having me out there part-time. It seems to be most advantageous to this. I would need to be fully vested into that position. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. It's not a part-time position, because if you've got, I don't know what size the dealership is, but let's just say there's 100 repair orders going through the service lane every day. There's 100 people coming in for service every day. So out of those, if you've got anywhere between 10 and 20% of your database that you can do this with, so out of every 100, there's somewhere between 10 and 20 customers you can do this with. Wouldn't you want to go out there and be out there full time? Because Lord knows you've got rush hour, which means from 7 to 9 a.m. everybody's dropping off their car and rushing off to work. But you also have the people that come in the whole rest of the day. They're coming in at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, 3. You've got to be out there. Let's take advantage of every opportunity. That's almost like telling your sales manager, listen, we don't have, out of the next 10 opportunities that walk in the front door, the heck with it. We don't even have to pay attention to 6 of them. The heck with them. I don't even want to talk to them. Let's just disregard them, because that's what we're doing. If we're not out there full time, we're basically disregarding opportunities to do business. Don't disregard them. Be out there full time. I agree with you 100%.
Stevie, best of luck, man. Really. Let's see. Anna has a question. She says, do you have an idea based on ROs how many people you would task to this? So, Jim, you ran a very successful Honda dealership. Did you just have one person in the service drive, or would you have like as many as it took? I mean, well, how many is too many?
It's actually a great question, because depending upon how many repair orders and customers you have coming in every day, think about it. There are metrics involved. You know, an internet person can only handle 100 or so leads on a given month, right? A good F&I person, a business manager, can only take 75 to 100 customers and be effective right there. I can tell you, if you're out in the service drive and you've got, and I'm going to use this as an example, if you've got 100 customers a day coming into your service drive, let's use the low end of the 10 to 20%. Let's say it's 10% of your database that you can put in another car for about the same payment with no money down. So that means 100 people come in, 10 of them are capable of doing it, and we're going to close 1 or 2 of them. So that would mean you're right about there with one person for every 100 repair orders. You'd probably be better off with 2 people, because the one person, you're just going to simply wear them out. They need days off. You do. A tired horse doesn't win the race. So those people, you know, for every 100 ROs, I say you need 2 people out there, and here's why. You're going to cover everything. If you've only got 10% and there's 2 opportunities out there, there's your two sales possibility right there. So for every 100 repair orders, I say you need 2 people out there to be able to do it, because you need time off. People are going to get sick. They need, mornings off, evenings off. People have lives. You can't whip them into submission. So that great question. Every 100 ROs, I want 2 people.
Excellent, Anna. Great question. All right, let's go to this next one from Patrick. He says, when you send your offer email in the morning, are you sending them numbers or just asking to buy their car?
Just asking to buy their car. I don't get into any numbers whatsoever with them, because
Okay.
here's what I do know. They're making a payment now. That payment's going to be about that same payment. So, a couple of objections can come up when you approach somebody on the service drive, and I hope this helps with emails also. Here's the 2 objections that come up. When you tell somebody you want to buy their car from them, here's the first objection. Great, you want to buy my car? How much are you giving me for it? Here's your answer. Here's what I do know. When this vehicle's in high demand, here's what I do know, that we'd be willing to give you a brand new one, keep your payment about the same as it is now, and I don't need any money from you. They've got to be giving you a lot of money for your current car. I can put all those numbers together, but if the payment was exactly the same and you could upgrade 3 model years with no money out of your pocket, you'd have to consider that, wouldn't you? Absolutely, and away you go. Second objection is, what do you mean by about the same payment? Well, some payments are a few dollars higher, some payments are a few dollars lower, but it's right about the same payment you're paying now. Listen, I wouldn't be approaching you to waste your time. Your payment's not going to jump or anything. This is exactly what we want to do. And with a data mining solution, you'll know exactly where you are in terms of the payment going up or down. So it's a very simple process right there.
Thank you so much. We still have a solid dozen questions, so let's try and get to these as quickly as possible. Michelle had a couple great questions. She says, which is the best way to go about identifying which conquest would be in alert status? And when I bring up the exchange, customers immediately want to know the value of their car, and then it derails the sale. Sell order. How do I get them back on track? So she had a couple things that she wanted to ask you about.
Okay, so first of all, it sounds like she's on auto alert because she's identified a conquest. Conquest are the customers that come into your service drive, didn't buy the car from you, but still utilize your service drive. Okay. I say anything that's a year old or older, let's go ahead and approach them. It's the same exact approach, except you're only changing 3 words. Here are the 3 words. It's a possibility. Because if I walk up to you, if I have no idea what your financial situation is, I'm going to walk up to you and say, hey, you're driving this 2011 Honda Accord. I'd love to have the opportunity to buy that car back from you. What if I told you we wanted to buy it back so badly from you that it's a possibility that we could put you in a brand new one, keep your payment about the same with no money down? Do you think we could buy yours? You're going to have an engagement. People are going to tell you yes or no. So, that's part of the engagement. So it's the same exact approach, whether it's a conquest or whether it's an alert coming in the door. What was the second part of that question, Eliana?
When I bring up the exchange, they immediately want to know the value of their car, and it derails the sell order. How do I get them back on track?
Absolutely. Well, see, as soon as you say vehicle exchange, that screams you're selling them a car. It's a sales process. That's what the customer sees. They're saying, oh, here's another sales ploy. It's a vehicle exchange program. Oh, boy. Rather than walking up to them and saying, listen, we simply want to buy your car back from you. It's got a whole different, sound to it than it's a vehicle exchange program. It almost sounds like a canned pitch when you say, hi, welcome to the dealership. We've got a vehicle exchange program. It sounds like a canned pitch. It sounds like you're selling them something, rather than having a genuine conversation with them by saying, listen, do you think we can have the opportunity to buy that car back from you? It's a whole different dynamic. And I think if you approach it that way, they're not going to dump out of the sales process at that point.
Thank you so much. Michelle, great questions. Thank you so much for being here today. Next question comes to us from James. And James says, do you see a value in also having the concierge team selling aftermarket products such as prepaid maintenance and service contracts and or referring accessories sales, as well as working to sell new cars? Or Jim, is that just too much for?
Absolutely, but here's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. So if you've got somebody skilled enough to be able to do that, Lord, it sounds like with the sound of that question, that if you went out there in the service drive, you could probably get that handled because you've got the skills and abilities to be able to get that handled. So, I always say, let's eat the elephant one bite at a time. Let's start selling cars, and then it can transform into selling accessories. It can transform into selling vehicle service contracts. It can transform into all those different things. You're absolutely right, and a concierge is the perfect person to do that with. And Becky, in a previous question, pointed out somebody just wanted a different color, right? So
yeah.
It could be different equipment. Maybe they didn't get that navigation system that they really wanted, or maybe they didn't get leather that they wanted, or whatever accessory that there was. Let's talk to them about it. But it's an elephant's a big animal. Let's eat it one bite at a time.
Gotcha. James, thank you so much for the question. Okay, Steve had a question. He says, what do you do if the customer didn't buy the car from your dealership? I think you covered this a little bit.
In Auto Alert's data mining solution, we can identify either customer, whether they bought the car from the store or whether they didn't buy the car from the store. That's a whole separate process, but the offer is still the same. We simply want to buy their car. So if you really want to know how to attack the customers that didn't buy the car from you but still utilize your service drive, you need to get Auto Alert. I mean, we're the auto data mining solution that actually gives you all those things. We give you the warranty opportunities. We give you the people that are going to go over the mileage on their lease contract. We can tell you by how many miles and what the end penalty is going to be. So we can identify all these profit opportunities for you. That's the only way you're going to know. So you really need a real concise, deep data mining system. Check out Auto Alert. Check out all the competition. We want you to make an intelligent buying decision. I'm sure you're going to see, after you see Auto Alert, a demonstration of it, you're going to say, wow, this is what it is. This is what I need right here.
Well, thank you so much for that. And Steve, great question. I want to get to this comment that Becky made. Becky is with Auto Alert, and she's the one who wrote in earlier and is doing so well with it. She says, the Auto Alert app on my cell phone is immediate and provides quicker access to the information. I never let the customer know what info I have. They don't want to know that I have that much information. I compliment them for maintaining their vehicle so well and appreciate their loyalty, and I let them know how honored we would be if they allowed us to buy back their vehicle. Unfortunately, the other salespeople are now calling my service alerts before I get a chance to call them on the drive or even the same day. And the salespeople need to be trained to read the alerts and leave the service alerts alone. Don't handcuff me or turn the customer off before I get a chance to talk to them myself. So, Becky, you go, girl. You keep it up.
All I can suggest is a Louisville Slugger. Get yourself a Louisville Slugger, and you'll sort out those problems.
Well, Becky also wrote that she'd love Jim to show her how you use the iPad as a better tool than the iPhone. So, Jim, you got to get with my girl Becky Egan and see if you can help her.
I will be there soon.
Okay,
I will be there soon.
There you go. Becky, I got you, girl. Okay, let's see. Next question comes to us from David. He says, this is our winner today, David. And he says, I was actually offered office in the service drive as a salesman for about a year. Frankly, I sucked at it. But I think that I would have loved to have had these tools available to me then. I don't sell anymore, but we definitely have people that do, and I can assure you that this stuff should work for us. And no, we aren't Auto Alert customers yet. David, I wish you the best of luck, man. It does sound like a great program.
Absolutely.
Michael wrote in. He says, do you give them an offer right on the spot, standing in the service drive?
The offer is just to simply buy their car.
Okay.
And what's going to happen there is you're going to find customers will look at you and say, what do you mean you want to buy my car? Then we simply tell them the story. This is the way we replenish our used car inventory. We can't find these cars at the auction, and there's no better car we can have in our pre-owned inventory than one that was originally purchased here and serviced here. Here's what I do know. We want to buy your car so badly, we could give you a brand new one for about the same payment with no money down. Now, they already know what they're paying, so if it was the same exact payment, let's use that for an example. If it was the same exact payment and you had no money down, it required no money down, wouldn't you want to go ahead and get a 2014 and let us buy this 2011 from you? I mean, it's almost a no-brainer concept there. It's almost a no-brainer pitch. You're working a deal, but not really, because what you're telling the customer is this: you want to buy their car and you're going to give them another one, then the payment's going to remain just about the same. That's enough information for people to make a decision on. So that way, they're making a payment. They know what that payment is. If they could get a newer car, the payment remains the same. It doesn't require any money to exchange hands. It's almost a no-brainer that way.
Gotcha. Michael, great question. I know you thought it might never come, but we are actually down to the last 3 questions of the webinar. What? Okay, Harry said, why not make this offer to buy the car to every customer who has a car the dealership needs?
You go for it, champ. You go for it. Here's what's going to happen. 80 to 90% of your database, some of them are $9,000 upside down. So how could you make that offer to them? You can't. You've got to identify the ones that are in your database that you can do something with. So you've got to work within the parameters. Here's what I do know. If we start offering it up to everyone and we actually can't do it, we're going to alienate a bunch of people. So you want to identify the ones that you can do something with and make them that offer. Here's what I can tell you. Eventually 100% of your customers are in that position at some point. You just don't know when. So that's the good news. Eventually they all turn into an opportunity. Every single one of them. They all turn into an opportunity. But you just got to know which part of your database right now you can do something with. That's the key right there.
Yeah, and Harry already wrote in. He's like, I got it. So good luck, Harry. I got it. All right, here we go.
Cool.
Thomas says, earlier you stated that removing the words sell, trade, and sale out of your vocabulary. Is it better to introduce your staff in a different manner? Inventory manager, used car manager? Also, would you suggest giving a vehicle appraisal to the customers after stating that you're wanting to purchase their vehicle? I mean, that's a great question, Jim. How do you go from, hey, I want to buy your, the first question I'd ask is, well, great, how much you want to buy it for? I mean,
right.
Isn't that the logical next question? So how do you go to that appraisal part?
It's, here's what I do know. I want to buy your vehicle so badly, I'm willing to give you a brand new one, keep your payment about the same with no money down. So I don't even really get into the appraisal of it or any of that. Here's what I want. I want a customer that is willing to go forward, that is not completely happy with their vehicle, is intrigued by the opportunity of getting something different, because let's face it, we all want to upgrade. We upgrade our cell phones. We upgrade our TVs. You go from a 50-inch to a 60-inch. Lord knows why? Because it's bigger. It's better. It's everybody wants to upgrade. So I wouldn't offer them an appraisal. I just offer them the offer. We want to buy your car, and we want to buy it so bad. Here's what we're willing to do for you for compensation. Now, there was a first part of that question. What was the first part of that question, Eliana?
I think he might have been kidding, but he said, is it better to introduce your staff in different manner instead of using...
No. That's actually a great question right there, because he's not being facetious, right? I have dealers that the people they put out in the service drive, they give them the title Vehicle Acquisition Manager, Director of Vehicle Acquisitions. It says it right on their business card. So it lends credibility to what you're doing right there. So it's a very good question. I've had that question several times before. So it's director of vehicle acquisitions, vehicle acquisition manager. It's
Yeah, because then it doesn't sound like you're selling, right?
Absolutely right. Well, I'm in charge of vehicle acquisitions. I'm trying to buy as many of these cars as I possibly can. I need them.
and Becky wrote in. She said, "I just ordered a new name tag, and it has my name, and then it says I buy cars and trucks."
See, there you go. See?
Way to go, Becky.
Simple common denominator right there.
Okay, one comment and one question. Andrew says, what is the difference between Auto Alert and other data mining companies out there?
Wow, that's a whole another 3-hour seminar.
No. We are in the
home
stretch, my friend.
We're in the home stretch. Here's what I can tell you in a nutshell. Auto Alert's the most comprehensive and easy to use system that's out there. I suggest that you get yourself demonstrations of any tool that you want to see out there and compare the differences. And I can tell you at the end of all your comparisons, you'll see how well Auto Alert does it, because we do a little bit of everything. We try to get every single profit center that you could imagine out there. Where other data mining systems, they're just looking at an equity bucket. They just say, okay, this car's got equity, you can do something with it. Where we go a whole lot deeper into it. But you'd really have to get a demonstration of the product to really understand that. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I have to say, the many people who sounded like they were working with Auto Alert or had Auto Alert, boy, they were very vocal. I didn't read nearly half the comments that were made from those people, and let me tell you, they seem like they're super happy with you guys. So I think it's definitely worth a demo.
Right.
Boy, we had a whole bunch of people just write on in. Oh, you guys. Okay, real quick, Jim. Adam says, we have 70% loyalty for our service customers. Is adding an acquisition manager still necessary at this point? I guess only if you want to sell more vehicles, right?
Absolutely. Are you retaining 100% of them? Sounds like you still got some opportunity there, doesn't it?
There you go. And Stevie, last comment of the day. He says, thanks. I have to disconnect right now. But I'm very thankful to you and Jim Kristoff for today's webinar. There was a lot of valuable information that I can use ASAP. Good luck to everyone here today. Can we do a follow-up or a part 2 to this webinar maybe in the next few months? Stevie, excellent question. Jim?
Absolutely we can. There's no doubt about it. I'd be more than happy to.
Let's see what we can do about that. Audience, thank you so much for being absolutely amazing. And Jim, you did not disappoint. Great presentation. You were simply brilliant. Let me tell you, audience, we're going to close out this webinar. Couldn't come soon enough, I'm sure, because you guys have been on here and you were hanging out with us for 2 hours, and boy, we really appreciate it. You're going to get a survey. It's very short, but please let Jim Kristoff know what an absolutely astounding, amazing, awesome job he did, and ask him to come back. Please, it's your opportunity to let us know what you thought of Jim's presentation today. That survey is going to be coming out to you in just another minute when I close out this webinar. Of course, if you want the presentation deck, email me at eliana@dealerun.com, and you are going to get the link to the recording sent to you in the next few hours. I believe it's going to take about 4 hours or so. It might take longer because this was a very, very long presentation, and I have to upload it. So please feel free to do all that, fill out that survey. We want to hear from you. And Jim, thank you again so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
I just want to thank everybody for their great questions, great attendance today. I really, really, really appreciate it. I mean, if you want to email me, call me, whatever you'd like to do, I'll try to answer all the questions. Emailing is probably the easiest way, so that way I can give you a little bit more in depth. Trying to answer everybody's phone calls is going to be a little crazy maybe, but I sincerely appreciate everyone's attendance today. Overwhelming. I mean, it was a record webinar.
Yes.
And I want to thank Eliana. Thank you very much.
You're very kind. No, thank you. Really, the pleasure was all mine. You did wonderfully. And audience, just so you know, our next webinar, the invitations for that will be going out tomorrow. So, oh yeah, we did it. We went there. Size does matter. Yes, it does. How to grow your digital presence. When it comes to your dealership's internet existence, size definitely does matter. The bigger your internet presence, the more opportunities to sell vehicles and provide services to more customers. So when your dealership is easy to find, easy to see, and easy to communicate with, your traffic increases. And when your traffic increases, you sell more. Simple, right? However, attracting and attaining those customers in the digital age can be an overwhelming challenge for many dealers. In this exciting one-hour webinar, we're going to discuss the importance of a maximized digital presence. We'll also cover how-to first steps that will help you develop a smart, comprehensive strategy to get an expanding internet identity. Increasing your online footprint will help your dealership achieve maximum exposure on the web and get you more traffic, more customers, and ultimately more sales. So if you're ready to learn how to grow your digital presence, well, then this is one webinar you simply can't afford to miss. It's going to be another fabulous presentation by your friends at DEALERUN. And don't forget, DEALERUN's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we have some amazing webinar subjects planned for this year. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, please feel free to contact me directly. Again, I'm Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you, so track me down online. I'm everywhere, Google+, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on all the automotive social networks, or you can email me directly at eliana@dealerun.com. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in our continuing education series. Thank you so much, and have a great day.